Hello everybody and welcome. I'm your host Captain Awesomeness, and today we're going to do a special episode on how to install a clutch on an LO206. Now for those of you who don't know, the LO206 is a motor that is used within the go-karting world. It is a engine manufactured by Briggs, and this one specifically is a brand new unit that I got. I found out that the engine that I was racing last year had a lot of problems, especially with the piston. Well, actually not even the piston, it was with the cylinder. Basically, it had gone through what's called a cylinder wash, and that happens when the engine's been exposed to water. So I'm thinking that the engine was raced in the rain and more water went in than would be tolerable. And what happened with that is that the cylinder in an engine has what's called a cross hatch. It's a thing that you will see in most all engines, and the point of it is that it gives the rings on the piston itself somewhat a better seal, so this way it can keep all the combustion gases above the piston and all the oil below the piston. So with that, I saw that there was cylinder wash. I basically had lost all that cross hatching on the cylinder, so it was time to upgrade the engine. Now that I do have a new engine, I need to install a brand new clutch. All you see in front of you right here are the different pieces that we're going to be installing, actually in the particular order you see from your right all the way to the left. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. All right, first things first, what we're gonna do, we're gonna use a special grease. It's not really a special grease, but I call it a special grease because of the purpose that it's gonna be used for. All right, first of all, what we're going to need is we need to grease up the shaft, the crankshaft shaft that we're going to put everything onto when it comes to the clutch. First thing also you want to kind of notice is that there is a keyway in here, and this is going to be a key part of our install. It'll make everything so much easier. Having said that, before I even make the install, what I'm going to do is install, or rather use a little bit of red bearing grease. This is a high temp grease, and the whole point of it is to kind of grease up the shaft, but you want to do this lightly. You don't want to put too much on there because it is a clutch after all, and if you have grease material on a clutch, it's going to make it slip, so you just want to be as conservative as possible in the usage of it. I've already kind of opened it up just to kind of check it out, and I'm going to first use a good liberal amount here right now, just to at least coat it up, feel like it's, you know, lathered up pretty good. And once I feel like I've done the right thing here with the amount of grease I put up here, I'm now going to take a little bit of it off. The reason being, again, is that it kind of gives me a sense of assurance. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. And it just kind of makes for an easy install for me. It might be a little different for you. Your mileage may vary. So there's that. All right, so the next thing we install is this black bearing. And this is going to go right in, and it's going to be a pretty smooth slash a little bit like it catches, but it'll go through. I just got to make sure I make it go in at the same time. So there's that. Next thing we do is install this washer here, followed by the actual clutch. Now let's just talk about the clutch itself. The thing you'll notice about it is that it's got 4 shoes. And then you've got these springs that hold the shoes together. You've got 2 black springs and then 2 white springs. The difference in the color actually denotes the strength of the springs themselves. And you do a 50-50 split because, you know, again, according to the guys who have been racing much longer than me, it is the most ideal balance of spring tightness. And so that's what I'm going with. Now, technically, this would have come a little bit disassembled, but it was already pre-assembled for me. So thank you, Matthew Burpo, for taking care of that. All right, so now there's a keyway in here. So you want to match it to the keyway of the actual crank. So we're going to make sure it goes all the way back, kisses everything that we've installed. Next thing we go for is this little piece right here that will sit flush again against the clutch, followed by yet another piece that goes through here. Now this is going to be the next step, which is the actual race bearing for the needle bearing that we're going to install. So this may catch a little and it may not go through, so just motivate it a little bit, bang it in. Not bang it in, but like, you know, just motivate it a little bit just so that it kisses and sits flush on there. Having said that, we're going to move on to the needle bearing. Now the needle bearing I've already pre-greased. You don't have to do that. I just happen to do it because I found it easier for me. So I put that needle bearing in there, followed by the cover for the clutch. And it should not have a keyway. No, it doesn't. So we just want to make sure that as we're installing it, we're not upsetting the needle bearing at all, because that's going to be a very important part. Now, if it doesn't work that way, if it's giving you a little bit of pain, what you can do is just install this cover of the shoe and then install the needle bearing, and it'll accomplish the same task for you. Just a little bit easier, see? So you can do one of two ways, and this is a way, and it works just fine. Just make sure needle bearing is flush, and it's just sitting just fine. And the last thing you need is this bolt with a small washer and then a very thick washer. And we're gonna screw that in. And as we do that, I'm just gonna hand tighten it at first. And once I've lost the ability to use my hands, first of all, they're greased up, I can kinda work it a little bit. What we wanna do then is use a 13mm wrench and tighten it a little bit. And tighten it to the point when it starts to move the crank. When it does, we have, let me back up a little bit. There you go. So once it tightens to the point where it may start to move the crank itself, you can use the actual pull string of the motor to kind of hold it back and give it a little bit of a counter balance. Now this thing will move, so I'm gonna try to make sure I can get it right. You don't want to like power crank it. You just want to make sure at least it's on there beyond just snug. So that's what I'm doing. I can still feel it moving. And there you are. All right, guys, so that concludes our install of a clutch on an LO206. Again, this is a brand new engine that I got from CW Kart USA, and one of the people that run it is Matthew Burpo, followed by Steve Taylor and Justin Cloudick, and I believe also Michael Schaefer. But if I mentioned an extra name, sorry about that, guys. Just happened to put all of you together. In any case, this is the most straightforward thing you can do on an LO206. What's important is not only just the install and following everything step by step and referencing really Hilliard's own website to make sure that you're following those steps accurately, but clutch maintenance is going to be an important part of it as well. And that is something I'll get into as and when the season goes. Speaking of season, I am officially going to be starting my first race at Thompson Raceway, which is actually pretty close to me up here in Cleveland. I will be going to G&J at some point, but right now I need to get my official racing season started, so that's where I'm headed out to. I would love to have done a whole rebuild series, but I'll do a different video where I talk about all the things that needed to be done on my go-kart. So it's important for me to at least let you guys know of all the stuff that I've been going through in the off-season. But that's all I have, guys, for now. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave your... I'll see you at the next Apex. Bye-bye.